There's this one profound statement that has been echoing down through the centuries, and it has the power to quietly reorient everything we think we know about spiritual reality. It's a phrase you've probably heard, but maybe never really sat with. So, in this explainer, we're going to unpack what this revolutionary idea is truly all about. For most of human history, our instinct has been to look outward. We scan the skies, we look to the halls of power, we watch the grand sweep of world events, all for some sign of the divine. But this ancient phrase, it points us in a completely shocking, unexpected direction. Not out there, but in here. Okay, let's really dive into this. To get just how radical this statement was, we have to kind of transport ourselves back to that moment. Picture it. People then, and honestly people now, are constantly watching the horizon, waiting for some huge external sign of God's intervention. There was this deep, collective assumption that if God was really going to make a move, it had to be big. It had to be public, undeniable, something you could literally point to that would change the world from the outside in. That was the only thing that made sense. Now, what's really interesting is this wasn't just some vague hope. At the very moment this was spoken, the religious experts of the day went right up to Jesus, and they had a very practical question. They basically asked, when? When is this kingdom of God of yours finally going to show up? Give us a schedule. And let's be clear about what they meant by kingdom. They weren't thinking about some fuzzy spiritual feeling. Not at all. They were expecting a political and military revolution. A conquering king marching on the capital, overthrowing the Roman oppressors, and setting up a visible, powerful earthly throne. They wanted a show. And this is where everything gets turned completely on its head. Jesus' answer didn't just adjust their timeline, it totally shattered their whole framework. He tells them the kingdom doesn't come in a way that you can watch for it. You can't track it with your eyes. He pointed them away from everything external and toward an internal reality they had never, ever considered. Now, because this idea was so completely counterintuitive, that simple little phrase, within you, has been the source of so much confusion ever since. It's been pulled and twisted into all sorts of different shapes. And here's the absolute crucial point. When a lot of us hear the kingdom is within you, we tend to think it means something like, I am my own God, or the truth is whatever I feel inside. But that misses the whole context. Jesus wasn't telling them to look inside themselves for their own divinity. He was the king, standing right there among them. The kingdom hadn't arrived as a territory, it had arrived as a person. His presence was the presence of the kingdom. So if that's the big misunderstanding, what's the actual spiritual reality here? Well, it's this. If the kingdom is the presence of the king, then to have the kingdom within you simply means to allow that king to come and establish his rule inside your life. This is really the core definition. This isn't about self-empowerment or finding some hidden goodness in yourself. It's actually the opposite. The kingdom within is the result of surrender. It's what happens when a person willingly gets off the throne of their own heart and yields it to another king. And when this happens, your entire life gets a new center of gravity. Your allegiance shifts. It's like this quiet, peaceful revolution happening inside your soul, where the old rulers, like fear or pride or sin, are gently dethroned, and the true, rightful king takes his place. You know, this brings us to a truth that applies to every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. Every human heart is a kind of kingdom, and every kingdom has a throne. The only real question is, who or what is sitting on it? And this is where it stops being an abstract idea and becomes a deeply personal question. It's a question that's really worth pausing on, one that cuts through all the noise. What is the ultimate ruling principle in your life? Because, let's be honest, if it isn't God on that throne, it's always something else. We build entire kingdoms around our ego, don't we? Or around our fears, our appetites, our need for other people's approval. We all serve a king of some kind. And the great human tragedy is that we often spend our whole lives looking for a rescuer out there on the horizon, all while resisting the king who is offering to rule from within. But this quiet, hidden internal kingdom, that is not the end of the story. Not even close. It's actually the seed of something unimaginably larger. It's just the starting point. You can see the whole grand story unfolding in 2 acts. Act 1 is what's happening now. this quiet, invisible, inward seed of God's reign taking root in a human heart. But Act 2 is the promise that one day this hidden reality is going to flower into a visible cosmic reality, where God's loving rule is finally established over all of creation. And that's how the personal and the cosmic are so deeply connected. What happens in the quiet of a single surrendered heart today is a direct preview. It's the seed of that future day when heaven and earth are finally renewed and united under their one true King.
So we end not with a big summary, but with a simple, quiet invitation that echoes that first shocking statement. The kingdom we're searching for out there on the horizon is actually standing at the door of the heart. It's not a kingdom that is forced or imposed. It must be invited. And so the only question left is the one he's gently asking.